G'day, welcome back to Sippy's Workshop. Today I'm going to be upgrading the CPU cooling fan in my editing computer. So right now, as you can see, I've got like a standard Intel setup. It's got some cables running over it and all that sort of thing, which isn't really helping the cooling efficiency. It's also quite a basic fan, and what I'm finding is I'm running at maximum temperature when the CPU is pulling about 70 watts. Now it's a 95 watt CPU, so I'm definitely running it below what it can be. And in my last editing experience, I found that it was actually thermal throttling the whole time and just running very hot. So that suggests to me that we need better performance with the new CPU core. So what I've got here today is a thermaltake toughair 510. I'm told this is going to do the job quite well. So let's get it on, and then we'll edit this video up and put it to the test and see how we go this time. Now, to start off with, what I'm going to be doing is to remove this CPU core that's in there at the moment. So to do that, I'm going to unplug this connector here, get that out of the way, get some better access, remove the fan header, just one here. Great, and then I'll remove these 4 clips, and then we'll get some access. Great, so you can see from the last video, the amount of thermal compound I used was perfect, because that fit really nicely over the CPU, really good sort of coverage. So it definitely won't be a thermal paste problem that was causing my overheating issues. We'll just be, we just maxed out the cooler, that's all. It's just a small cooler, comes for free with the CPUs. It's done a really good job up to this point, but I'm asking a lot of it with my upgraded CPU from the other video. So, we just need a new cooler. Great, so now I'm just going to go through the process of assembling the cooler. So basically got this instruction sheet. The kit comes with a nice couple of fans and a big chunky radiator thing. So I'm going to put it all together, and then we'll get to installing it. Now, we've got all this mounted on now, so we're ready to mount the radiator set. And because this is such a seemingly excellent amount of thermal comment, I'm going to be using the same method as last time. So we'll start by cleaning it off with a paper towel. Great, that's looking nice and clean. Now, while the new cooler does include some thermal compound, apparently the one that I bought previously was quite a high quality one, which was this Arctic Silver. I don't know if you can see that. Arctic Silver thermal compound. So I'm going to use the same one again. I'm going to use the same method of just plonking a bit right in the center, letting the spreader spread it out. Nice and central. Great, let's get this big cooler on. Now you've got a few options in terms of how you mount the cooler. I'm going to have my air, this is the top of the case pointing this way, so I'm going to have the air pushing up, and I'm going to try that. If I want to, I can always swoop it around and have it going the other way, but quite like to try that way. And that's what I'll be doing. Or rather won't be doing, and I'll be going this way. So this is sort of the conventional way of having it go sideways. Do I want to change that? No, I'll stick with what everyone does and have it kind of facing towards the exhaust fan. Better take this sticker off though. One of these put off the sticker. And I'll be very careful not to touch that heat section. Very highly polished. Bottom of this. Let's give that a little. That's where we find if we have room or not. Very gentle. Nice and central over the CPU. That's looking pretty good to me. Get this wire out of the way. Fantastic. So next step, got this plate that holds the radiator down. That basically screws the heatsink down into position. Just trying to keep it nice and even pressure. Great, so now I've got that in position. What I'll do now is I've got this wire I have to do something with. So I want to see if I can run that up and around easily. I think what I might do is take it back. So I'm going to squeeze under there easily. Because that is a bit of a constraint. It needs to be able to plug in for me to use the computer. That is a little bit problematic. Righto, that can go there. Great. Next thing I'll be doing is I've got this fan, and I've got these fan brackets. So it's just a matter of screwing these into here. And the screws up. So you can see this one, I can see the thermaltake details, and the brackets on this side. I'm going to set it up oppositely for the next fan. So in this case, I've got the different section of the fan facing me. This means we're only going to have one direction of air travelling through the cooler. And lucky blast. Well, that is looking fantastic. Got my fans set up. So now it's just a matter of installing them onto this machine. So the way I'm going to be running them is like Xeon. Pull the wires out of the way. I'll undo these cable holders now as well, until I got better access. Right, just clip on like that. Do the same with this one. Fantastic, and we can go in the same direction. Lovely, clears my memory nicely, clears all the other wires. That's looking fantastic. So now the other thing I'm not too sure about is what I have in terms of 4-pin fan connectors. So I know I have at least one up here that I can use that was being used previously. I'm just not too sure if I have any others, so I'm just going to do a quick search around the motherboard and see if I can find another fan controller. Otherwise, I'll just use that one. But it looks to be that I only have the one. That's okay. Yeah, just the one. Cool. So I'll use a splitter, connect these guys in. That one, and this one. And then this connector. I think I'll run these. Which direction will I run them, you reckon? Probably like straight over the top, I reckon. Into this nice fan controller, which I suspect goes in this direction. If you're struggling to see, that makes two of us. Light out a little bit. There we go, that's better. It's very busy in here now. It's one thing the Intel fan does very well. The Intel stock cooler, it's very compact. Especially for the amount of cooling that it offers. Maybe very hot on this. There we go, fan headers in. Everything's connected. Push these over the top. It's not interfering with the airflow at all. Not the prettiest, but I haven't got a glass case, so no one's going to see it, and it's the most practical direction, I think. Great. So that's all connected. Main motherboard is connected. Let's just double check that should be everything now. Great, that looks all good. I'm going to get the covers back on, and then I'll take it over to the area to test it. Here we go. Great, so now what I've got is a clip I was trying to edit last night, which overheated the computer. If I have a look at this core temp app that I've got, right now I'm drawing 23 watts, and the highest temperature across the 4 cores is about 30 degrees, which is what it was doing at idle before. On the other window, I've got a Chrome tab open with 3 windows, including a YouTube video that's playing. So just trying to replicate a higher stress than what you'd realistically subject the computer to. And what I'm going to do now is just go over in Rush, which is editing software that I use. I'm just going to do a 4K render and see what happens. See how it handles it. I've looked at Task Manager at the moment. I'm using about half my RAM, and I'll be using the SSD as well for this render. So I'll be rendering onto the SSD. So let's give it a whirl. So it's given me about half an hour yesterday, and the maximum I was getting out of the processor was about 70 watts. So if we swing back over to this one now, so we're already up to about 60, and temperature's creeping up as well, so about 40 degrees, and it's giving me 15 minutes, 17 minutes. I think the highest I saw yesterday was about 30, so we'll see what happens here. And so if we have a look at the processor, so currently giving me 100%, which is what I was looking for. And GPU still 40 degrees, it was getting about 65 yesterday, so that's way down. And this is an identical video. And it's still on turbo, so up to 102%, kind of like Intel's inbuilt overclocking setup. So that is still working, which means we're not thermal throttling as of yet. But interestingly, the power is down to the CPU. Rightio, so come back a few minutes later. It's really, getting into the editing side of things now. So the CPU's been running 100% the whole time. Max recorded temp is 50 degrees, which is pretty healthy. It's worth mentioning in the motherboard software that the chassis fans don't really kick in full bore until 45 degrees. Until then, they're sort of in a quiet mode. So it's the lowest temperature you ever see under editing conditions would be 45 degrees. And so this is saying that with this cooling setup, the motherboard temperature is 28 degrees, CPU 47, so totally healthy on the cool side kind of thing. A little bit odd that I'm not getting the same power draw that I was getting yesterday. I'm not too sure what the go there is. Highest I think I've seen is about 65 watts, so that's about 5 watts down than what I was getting yesterday. But just needs to be editing roughly the same pace, a bit faster. And then looking at the GPUs, the GPU is about 60 degrees, so that suggests to me that the overall load must be fairly similar, because the GPU was about 65 degrees yesterday. So perhaps by not having all that hot air right next to it, sort of just flapping around like the way that the Intel cooler sort of throws it around, that might have something to do with it. So I'd call this one solved in terms of the thermal throttling issue that I was having. Time will tell. Hopefully I'll get some. If I happen to load up the system in a way that draws more power, I might see a little bit higher temps, but I'm quite confident that with the setup I'm not going to have any of those issues. So great result. Thanks for watching, and if you have a thermal throttling issue in your computer and you've got a stock Intel core, it might well be worth upgrading to something like the one that I've added. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.